Okay, thank you, Shimon. Professor Gunay, it's your time. Please.
Okay, thank you.
Try to keep it within 20 minutes.
Okay, I'll try my best. First of all, it's a great pleasure and experience being here in INSS and seeing friends. They're getting more and more. And so after these intensive, extensive, and informative presentations, mine going to be a positive one and also an academic overview from above, I guess. And in that sense, I'm trying to focus on the region's dynamics in terms of the problems that has been so far has been lived through, and the new problems that are arising in this region. And also, despite the pessimism that is going on in this region about the future of it, how it is going to evolve, and how this challenging situation on the ground would be somehow coupled with this incoming Hope Conference for 2012 MEC conference. And I'm not that pessimistic as they are, because I take it, as my colleague Kamal Grant says, this could be an opportunity to take some incremental steps ahead to bring up a breathing space for building trust and cooperation among the people of the Middle East. I thought so. But I'm doubtful whether in this definition Turkey is included in the Middle East.
Totally.
Okay. Okay, so I'll start. It's for sure that the Middle East region has for a long time continued to lack a comprehensive regional cooperation organization and forum. And for this reason, the states of the region often incline to act in balance of power mindset rather than cooperative manner. Today, the existences of all conflicts, as I have mentioned, continuing to affect the region states, and the rise of new non-traditional threats have made the management of regional security complex in the Middle East more difficult. And the Middle East region, due to the absence of trust among the regional states, has become unable to transcend the issue of security dilemma that often lead to constant conflicts and wars and armaments of various kinds. Throughout the history of the Middle East, numerous mitigating efforts have been launched by various groups at certain forums so as to make this region free of certain weapons, but unfortunately they could not succeed. However, the international community, as the result of 2010 NPT Review Conference, recently expressed its intention to convene a conference on the subject of Middle Eastern free weapons of mass destruction zone in 2012. In the aftermath of a long period of stalemate in the Middle East peace process and under the current turbulent conflicts of the region, 2012 MEC conference presents an exceptional mitigation opportunity to build trust and confidence that is lacking for some time among the states of this region, which in the long run hopes to lead peaceful relations. In this regard, both the international community as well as the states of the Middle East is spending utmost efforts to speed up preparing the conditions convening for the convention of MEC conference at its scheduled time. But today, the existence of, as I mentioned, both old and the newly rising impediments in the Middle East stand as the crucial hindrances before the realization of such an ambitious goal. All in all, at today's unpredictable conditions of the Middle East, all kinds of security mitigators are required to speed up the preparations of 2010 MEC conference, 12 MEC conference, and hence in this regard the importance of second track diplomacy as well as all kinds of cooperation and dialogue forums that accept the rules of peaceful conflict resolution and the institutions of collective security like UN, UN-related institutions and others, plus the multinational partnerships like Nuclear Proliferation and Disarmament Initiative and others gains utmost relevance. In this regard, the representatives of civil society that can introduce valuable information, insights, and perspectives about the urgent need of convening 2012 MEC conference are needed in the process of education both the Arabs and non-Arabs of the Middle East region. In this regard, holding conferences like the one today and others in different parts of the Middle East and sharing the outcomes of these conferences with the Middle East public has essentiality in terms of building the lacking trust and better understanding that would hope to provide bridges between the opposing sides of this part of the world. Wishfully, at the end of this long and patient social learning process, one day in future, of course, when the conditions get convenient, the existence of several self and other dichotomies are hoped to be transcended and hopefully, wishfully, replaced with the new all-encompassing Middle Eastern oneness. We need to be a bit far away from this, but we can achieve it. But till then, both the regional states of the Middle East as well as the international community should try to benefit from the available occasion that can make the use of cooperative security mindset somehow established in this conflict-breeding part of the world. Hence, the 2012 MEC conference and beforehand preparation stands as a very good opportunity in this regard that should not be missed. Furthermore, its coincidence with the ongoing Arab revolts in the North Africa and the Middle East, according to some viewpoints, is full of risks and uncertainties, whereas to some others, like I do believe in so, it involves great opportunities. For instance, according to et al. Solingyan's works, in the existence of denuclearization that has been realized as nuclear-free zones in different parts of the world, of course, can be explained by the existence of different and many factors. But again, according to her conviction, the change in the domestic factors is quite important, among other things, in steering the regional states' preferences towards a zero-nuclear policy. Solingyan defends this viewpoint of her, namely the importance of domestic factors, by deriving examples from the southern globe countries like Brazil and Argentina that has been mentioned today, and their historical experiences. So if we follow the Solingyan's path of exploration, the reason for change of particular states' nuclear behavior of a certain region by, of course, the change in domestic factors, then a hope in this direction comes into fore with the ongoing regime changes in North Africa and Middle East. Not in all of them, but there are some hopes in some places. Today, no one is certain about the future of Arab street revolts. However, with the timely regional and global economic political support, there is the possibility of seeing the Arab streets pleas for democratic and better life going in the right direction, of course, whenever and wherever it is possible. In this regard, one should not forget the experience of European security community building process was also a challenging and a time-consuming process. Under the current conditions, the Arab streets now deserve to be encouraged as much as Central and Eastern Europe states have been supported at the end of the Cold War period. As my friend Ashber has mentioned, that it would be very difficult without the given support of EU and the infrastructure and other things. With this given support of the international community during the transitional period where the new political actors are assuming power via the result of various interactions, of course, like the flow of trade, ideas, people, etc., gradually the remnants of balanced power mindset, hopefully at the inception, could be in time diverted into a direction of relatively cooperative mindset. During this preparatory phase, with the taken incremental steps, at least some of the impediments that are used to feed constantly the present security dilemma in the Middle East can be transcended, and hopefully this situation on the ground will ease the preparing the minimum required conditions for the realization of Middle East free zone from WMD. As we all know, the Community of Disarmament and Non-Proliferation, after a long period of hindrance, has inspired very recently from the U.S. President's 2009 Prague speech, where he outlined the checklist for the goal of realization of nuclear-free world. Though this situation has created a positive mood among the non-nuclear states of the NPT, there is still more to be seen whether this important U.S. initiative, which makes all of the nuclear files responsible, is a cosmetic image makeup or evidence of a real intention. In this regard, the non-nuclear states of NPT have welcomed the decision of convening 2012 MEC conference as constructive start and a window opportunity that came into conclusion that finally the Community of Disarmament and Non-Proliferation has now the chance of reviving and realizing at least one of the three aims of 1995 NPT Review Conference. In the view of non-nuclear states, there is now more chance for both sides of the NPT to prove that they are sincere in the implication of their obligations under the treaty that would rebuild the lacking trust and cooperation for some time. In the aftermath of decision of the Convention of 2010 NPT Review Conference, this new momentum gave way to the realization of various important efforts to be displayed at various levels, so as to facilitate preparations for the conference 2012, becoming a reality on the ground in future. Okay, as we come to Turkey's position, very briefly, as being at the status of non-nuclear weapons state of NPT treaty, as along with other members of the treaty, Turkey has also welcomed and supported the calls that were made at New York 2010 NPT Review Conference for holding a conference in 2012 for WMD-Free Zone Conference for the Middle East. And at the UN General Assembly meeting in New York, Turkish President Abdullah Gül drew attention to the growing danger stemming from proliferation of mass destruction to the world peace, and stated that this situation could only be overcome if all countries, including those who own nuclear weapons, adopt a just and principled approach. According to his viewpoint, the conditions of a credible global non-proliferation regime cannot be attained by ignoring the de facto existence of nuclear weapons of certain countries at the heart of most delicate regions. In this context, he made a call upon all member states of international community to intensify their efforts in creating weapons of mass destruction free zone in the Middle East, as was emphasized by UN Council Resolution 687 of 1991. Back in the 1995, a resolution to create weapons of mass destruction zone in the Middle East was adopted at the NPT Review Conference so as to win the Arab support for indefinite extension of the treaty. At that time, this resolution also contained the objectives of both realization of accession of all states in the Middle East to the NPT and the aim of placement of all nuclear facilities in the Middle East under the full scope of EIA safeguards. Moreover, at the 2010 NPT conference, the parties since 1990 RevCon decisions for the very first time have accepted the importance of a process that will lead to the full implementation of 1995 resolution. In this regard, NPT's 189 countries, after intense negotiations, agreed on a final document that puts forward 64 follow-on actions, including formal talks in 2012 on eliminating nuclear weapons in the Middle East. So, all in all, we can say that Turkey's above-mentioned encouraging calls for creation of WMD-free zones in the Middle East seems to be in conformity with the general international community's current mood and behavior, which is supportive of convening a 2012 conference, sure. Okay, after all, this issue of WMD-free zone in reality has been, as we all know, has been supported by nearly most of the states in the Middle East since 1974, including Israel, with the condition of fulfilling different conditions. However, since then, the conditions on the ground have not helped much to implement it. For some time, the first impediment before the realization of such kind of a zone in the Middle East, free from WMDs, was associated with very well-known argument that took place between Israel and Egypt about disarmament first versus peace first viewpoints. Later on, with the outbreak of Iranian crisis, the realization of the issue of WMD-free zone in the Middle East has even become more complex, as we heard 2 days long conference. This issue then coincided with the new demands of acquiring nuclear reactors for civilian use in the Middle East. This situation, again, also has prompted another concern in the Western circles that led them to revisit the debate whether or not the world community is on the eve of a new nuclear renaissance. All in all, these concerns, of course, put the Middle East region once again at the forefront of nuclear proliferation concerns that have naturally resulted in some of nuclear five's immediate attempts of realizing various counter non-proliferation initiatives. These newly introduced strengthened non-proliferation measures, whether in the form of new fuel banks or 1-2-3 agreements, etc., have met with resistance in the Middle East other than some parts of the Gulf. This new situation naturally triggered the revival of the old issue between the nuclear and non-nuclear sides of the NPT about how in the future the implication of NPT Treaties Article 4 and 6 can be realized in a just and legitimate way. This contentious issue between the two sides has gained more publicity during the eruption of Iranian nuclear crisis and the way the nuclear fights, especially some, meaning the Westerners, have prepared to deal with it. In accord with the other members of non-nuclear states of NPT, Turkey at various platforms, both at the level of presidency and prime minister and Ministry of Foreign Affairs, also stated that Iranian nuclear program crisis can only be solved in conformity with IAEA norms and NPT obligations. But at the same time, Ankara drew attention to the that the nuclear have-nots' right to use nuclear energy for peaceful purposes and as should be respected. Okay, if Iran could not prevent it, as we have discussed so far to become a nuclear state, then all international and regional efforts seems to be directed at attaining the realization of deterrence of Tehran regime via available all counter-military means, as well as the reassurance of regional alliance gains importance, meaning that U.S. or NATO extended deterrence is becoming a must. At the end of these various deterrence efforts, arms control efforts that are naturally expected to be stalled on the ground, and this would easily result in triggering a new tide of additional proliferation in the Middle East. This is what I believe so. So the realization of this kind of a scenario would a real setback to at most needed cooperative mindset in this part of the world where the present zero-sum outlook of neighboring states had gained preponderance for some time due to the existence of many problems of this region. So as to prevent the creation of such kind of a negative environment, Turkey, in the face of Iranian debatable nuclear program as a solution, proposes to use diplomacy and dialogue instead of coercive means. And in this regard, as we have mentioned from our Indian friend, colleague, that she had displayed at most effort in bringing up this deal, a Brazilian and Turkish swap agreement. But as we know, it hasn't worked out. And now we have heard that there are other options to be dealt with. But I hope we would be successful in forcing the diplomacy, the merits of diplomacy and dialogue in this sense, so that, as it's been mentioned at this panel, that no country should be put outside of this if we hope to bring up a comprehensive regional security architecture. I believe so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Güney, and also thank you for saving me 2 minutes of your time.
Oh, sure.